Ladies and gentlemen, welcome into the pod. I am your host, JoeTilleryy. This is kind of a new thing for me, folks. I've been producing a weekly podcast for work over at Heartland College Sports, but transitioning away from that a little bit, not the company, but just the podcast over there. And I'm kind of wanted to do some long-form content for you guys because I've really enjoyed the process, and I kind of wanted to jump in that lane. It'll only be on YouTube. It's a YouTube exclusive, but every Monday evening, Monday day, Monday night, whatever the case is, you should have about an hour of content from your boy here outside of just videos. I'll have the videos, obviously, but for those of you listening for the first time, thank you so much. As usual, be sure to hit that subscribe button. It does help out immensely. It's the best way to support the channel as we continue to grow this thing. But for those tuning in for the first time, considering it is the first episode, so everybody listening right now, first of all, thank you. But second of all, I want to give you a little bit of an outline of how this show is going to work. So for the K-State fans, obviously it's going to be K-State centric. It's going to be a topic that pertains to anything going on in the K-State community. If, first 10, 15 minutes out of the gate, I'll talk K-State stuff. Then I'll kind of look at what's going on with me, what's happened in my life, just as a kind of a behind the scenes thing. And then I've asked you guys some mailbag questions on social media. If you're interested in jumping in that, go check me out on Twitter. It's Tillery_Joe. I'll probably post something over each weekend, say, hey, mailbag questions for this week's pod. We got some good questions today, and I want to give a shout out to everybody that did comment on that. But I'll start off with my K-State topics to jump in quick. And I know that the basketball team is not something that people want to hear about. I know it's not something people want to talk about right now. Trust me, I know that. But I kind of want to outline some realistic expectations and how I'm feeling about the team right now. I know that everybody and their brother's piling on right now. This is not going to be the part of the pod where I sit here and try to sunshine pump you to death and say, this is good, we're going to be okay. I am such an on-the-fence person in general when it comes to K-State sports. And I don't mean to say that like a bad thing. When I look at K-State basketball and I think about what's going on, it's one way to say, okay, you had a good first outing, you beat number 16 Cincinnati. Granted, they are drastically overhyped. Those guys stink. No disrespect to those guys. There's some good talent on that team, but they're not the 16th ranked team in the country. You beat those guys. And it's in Manhattan, home court advantage, great, protect the house. Then you go on the road, and you blow a 6-point lead with 3 minutes to go because your starting point guard and a starting forward can't hit the front end of a 1-and-1. I get that. I'm not here to dunk on the players. I'm not going to sit here and say that it's their fault, but it was just a tough outing for everybody. As a fan, that's a kick in the nuts, man. It is. It just is. You get kicked in the crotch and it sucks, man. It is what it is. That's kind of how I feel right now watching K-State basketball. There's talent, there's excitement, but boy, there's these stretches where we go absent from the field for 5 minutes. It's like we check out and we look like a middle school JV team, and then there's moments where we look like the best team in the Big 12. And it is so few and far between about which team is going to get. I just don't know how to talk about this team right now. I don't know how to predict this team. I think realistically the games are going to be close. We're probably going to end up losing some of those because our late game decisions are not great. Not as a team, but I feel like the staff hasn't quite figured out late game stuff, which kind of sucks to just toss out there. But I feel like if you can get to a point where your stars are being your stars. Coleman Hawkins looks like he's found it. There's a silver lining. Doug McDaniel in the starting lineup. Keep him in the starting lineup. Tang's comments, I don't even want to address that. But the thing is this. With K-State basketball, it's currently making me sad, but I'm such an on the fence fan, that a good showing flips me back. And I say, okay, I see what they're doing here. You go 2-1 to start the first 3 games, blah, blah, blah. You're looking okay. Then you go get kicked in the nuts again. Okay, we suck. Let's start the season over. Let's do this. Let's do this. I do not have a good, comfortable, rational decision to have right now. Whether that be about the coaching staff, about the team, about Kansas State basketball as a whole. It's just a wildly volatile time to watch Kansas State basketball. And I don't really like that. If I could get a consistent pick on what I see, if I say, all right, this team's going to score 75 points a week, they're going to handle their business, they've got good plays out of timeouts, they've got this, the stars are this guy and this guy. If I know what to expect each week, and if somebody beats us playing that game, I get it. But the way I'm viewing Kansas State basketball this season, and I know this is such a cliche, so hear me out on this, every single week has to be its own game. Every single game has to be its own season. When you play in Oklahoma State, because it's K-State, it'll be a close game down the stretch, and it'll be a 2-point, 3-point game down the stretch. I don't see us blowing anybody out this season. That being said, I don't care how sloppy it looks. If you win games, if you go 13-7, you can make the tournament. If you go 14-6, you can win the tournament. If you go 12-8, probably not making the tournament, you might make the NIT, but if you get it done, that's what I want to see. But I'm not going to be in the best interest of saying what looks good, what doesn't look good. I'm not even going to dive into the specific critiques. I know there's a lot of people saying here and there and what's going on, this stinks, this stinks, this stinks. I'm not jumping in that conversation. But until they can play like a consistently good team, and I know you can say the positive way to look at it is you lose a game winner, it sucks, Noah Reynolds, good player, sure. But you didn't score. Like, I've got stats here pulled up, and I want to shout out some people on Twitter that have said it. But in the final 4 minutes of that game, you scored 3 points. That's a fourth of the quarter, basically. Obviously, you're 1 minute off, but that is a fourth of the half, and you scored 3 points. What are we doing? Hit your free throws, guys. Get to the free throws. You know, the positive way you can look at it and say, well, they didn't give us the same amount of free throws. You shot 5 from the field, they shot 16. That's BS. Big 12 refs are what they are. You can say whatever, but I'm not going to be the blame the ref guy when that happens. Now, after this game, Coach Tang is 5-18 in true road games. That's not fun. That is not a fun thing to see on the road. My critique or my fix-it solution situation here is if you want your guys to play hero ball, play your heroes. And I'll point at Buddy Rich. I know there's people that say, well, Buddy stinks, he's not good at this. I'm not one of those people. The dude is free points if he's in the paint. You want your guys to score, you want your guys to make plays, play the dudes that are going to make plays. And I'm not going to sit in here and point at the starting lineup and say, this guy doesn't need to be out there, this guy doesn't need to be out there. I'm not going to do that. All I'm saying is Buddy is averaging 12 minutes per game, and he's averaging upwards of 6 points. The dude scores a bucket every other minute. Buddy is a stud. He's an athlete. Your one advantage that you have over every single team in the country is Buddy Rich. Moby's an athlete. Let him play. Let these guys play that are athletes, and then figure out the offense around those guys. Not saying that he has to be a starter playing 35 minutes, but Buddy needs to play more than 12 minutes. And I think they're warming up to that idea. So I'll pass on K-State basketball. I'm not going to sit here and try to just get myself all hot and bothered about K-State basketball because there's more stuff around the K-State community that's happening currently. One thing I want to talk about, it's Dan Lanning. And that's not necessarily K-State, but it is in a second. This dude, Dan Lanning, cannot keep his eyes off K-State prospects. Whether it be high school kids, transfer portal kids, whatever the case is, the dude cannot just chill and find somebody from Alabama, find somebody from Georgia, find somebody elsewhere. Let the man chill. Dan Lanning, I think, eventually will be a great NFL head coach, and if I was starting an NFL franchise today, I would throw every bit of money I have at Dan Lanning trying to get him to be my head coach. I've heard some people say, well, Chip Kelly didn't work. It's not a Chip Kelly situation, folks. Dan Lanning's a ball knower. That guy is a great coach. I think he's the best coach in college football. But with Dan Lanning, K-State, sure enough, is competing with Dan Lanning in Oregon as well as Tennessee. I don't think it'll be Tennessee for Malik Benson. Some picks have gone in already about Benson picking Oregon over K-State. I hate that idea, to be perfectly honest with you folks. I really do. You think about this. Malik Benson's chosen wrong twice now. And obviously I'm biased because I'm a K-State guy, but you didn't do anything at Alabama. You didn't do anything at Florida State. You didn't have much playtime. How much playtime do you think you're going to get at Oregon versus Kansas State? You have one last season of eligibility because I don't see Diego Pavia suing the NCAA again next year, but it's just crazy to me to see. I get you get extra eligibility, get one more ride. If you have one more ride, why not try something you haven't tried yet? Come home to the local school. Don't go to another big blue blood school that's not going to play you. But regardless, Dan Lanning's got his eyes on Malik Benson. I don't think he'll be much more than a wide receiver 4 there. I think at K-State he has the true potential to be a wide receiver 1 type dude. But I'm not going to break the kid, I'm not going to break the kid down over that. I'm just going to say it is what it is. But Dan Lanning, looking at all the high school prospects, it's amazing you kept Avery from him. It's amazing you kept Lincoln Cure from him. Ian Premer's another guy that's got him in their top 10 if you had to make him cut down today. I assume he's up there. It's just a crazy thing that Dan Lanning seems to always be around Kansas State sports. And the day that he goes to the NFL, I will be thanking the heavens, to be perfectly honest with you. I saw he has a request for an interview with the Chicago Bears, and he's interested. If I was the Jets, I'd hire him tomorrow. I think I'd hire somebody that's just going to stabilize the locker room. That's the biggest thing. But wanted to talk about that. Ian Premer, another guy that's kind of jumped on the scene. Obviously a 5-star tight end, a superstar tight end, is going to be a really good player in college football. But he's also going to play college basketball, it sounds like. I don't have the ins and outs of if he actually will, but he's gotten an offer for K-State basketball as well as K-State football. We'll see what happens there. I'll be interested to see how that affects his recruitment or if he starts picking up more offers, what the case is. But for K-State specifically, that's 2 things I wanted to discuss. And then another thing, because I don't cover them enough on my main channel, and I apologize for that. I'm just genuinely lazy, and it has nothing to do with this. It's entirely self-based of I need to do better about this, and I've been open about that. The women's team is freaking legit, folks. The K-State women's basketball team should win a national title. They should be top 10 already. Their ranking at number 13, or whatever they are right now, is ludicrous. They beat the brakes off everybody they play. It is insane to me. Think about the talent. You've got a girl going a triple-double every other night in Serena Sundell. You've got Ayoka Lee, who doesn't even have to play more than 25 minutes, and she's still scoring 32 points a game. That's the crazy part. I mean, I know that's not her season stats, but it's just like a situation where this team has no flaws. I get they can get cold from 3. I get they can get beat. They lost that one game against Duke. I forget if it was Duke or Kentucky, but this team can be beat, but boy, it's hard to do. They look very, very good in my eyes. I think it's going to take a lot. I think it's going to take a lot for Kansas State to lose in the March Madness tournament. Obviously, last year losing in an upset fashion kind of stunk. they'll host a tournament game. They will. They'll host a bracket in Manhattan, Kansas again. I think Jeff Mittie is a guy who's gotten a lot of heat, kind of the same Jerome Tang heat, where it's like, great recruiter, not the best X and O's guy. Jeff Mittie, at this point, has built such an incredible roster that it is impossible to beat. And I think he is a decent coach when all push comes to shove. I know some people have been on the fence about him, but, if I had to say it, they're a Sweet 16 or bust. If you go less than the Sweet 16, folks, this is a problem. But you have so much talent coming in. There's a couple 5-star girls coming in next class. Another one making her decision here for the class of 2026 soon. There's just a lot of great things. And you're developing home local girls like Taryn Side, some other girls around the area. It feels like Jeff Mittie has the ball rolling in the right direction, and this women's team can absolutely win a national championship, And I'm not the best to cover them, to be perfectly honest. I watch a lot of their games. I support from afar, but I'm not, X's and O's always watching every single game. So there's a lot of better people to follow on that. Ethan Fitzgerald, Go Power Cat over there, does a great job. My buddy Carter Schaefer does a good job of talking about the women's team. I'm more so a fair weather fan, where if they're winning games, I'm there. It's exciting. I want to advocate for the team, but I haven't watched all the games here and there. But it is impossible to miss the incredible things that they're doing. Now, kind of jumping on with what's going on with me and some stuff in the world of sports, we've got a lot of stuff to discuss, to say the least. What's going on for me? Let's talk about what's going on with me. Everybody and their brother is sick right now. In case you've noticed it, I've missed the last 3 or 4 days of uploads. I know in your end it probably doesn't look like much, considering it probably just looks like I haven't uploaded. But on the other end of that, I've been sick as a dog. I've got this cold that somehow everybody and their brother has right now, where they can't breathe, they have head fog, the sinus congestion's insane. I am so tired of it. I'm almost over it, I feel like. But I definitely don't have the energy I did a week and a half ago. And for those of you wondering, I have tested negative for COVID. It's not a COVID-related thing, but it is kind of crazy to see. It's the winter flu. I mean, what are you going to do about it? It sucks. I'm blowing my nose with tissues and toilet paper and paper towels. Whatever I can find around me to blow my nose, that's what I'm going towards. But I did go drop a bag at CVS the other day, pick up Dayquil, NyQuil, ibuprofen, whatever I needed, melatonin, 4 boxes of tissues. I am decked up in the sickness stuff. Enough for the next, half decade, it feels like. But I definitely dropped a bag at CVS the other day. But I feel like it comes and goes. This one feels worse than most, so I hope you're not too sick. If you are sick and listen to this, I'm thinking about you, guy. Go drink some tea. Go drink something hot. Go get something in your life, some chicken noodle soup. Chicken will save you. My mom's told me that. I don't know if that's true, but I made some white chicken chili that was banging, to say the least. So definitely go check that out. But, T's and P's for the sick people out there, man. It sucks. It is what it is. Keep thugging it out. I believe in you. I am super duper tired of it. I think I'm about 2 days away from being about 100%. I think I'm close to about 84.5% right now, if I had to take a guess. I mean, 90%, cats by 90, so I'm about 90%, but we'll see, man. I'm sick and tired of it, so definitely take your meds and don't go places that you're going to get sick. That's a dumb thing to say, but we went skiing in Jackson for Christmas, so went to Jackson, Wyoming, Jackson Hole, for those of you wondering. I haven't really traveled a ton. I like traveling, but I'm also more of a homebody where I want to be at home. I think it's also maybe partially related to the YouTube stuff, where it's like, can I sit in my room, talk about a team I love, go do some stuff, in an area I'm familiar with? I don't always get out on big vacations and stuff. One, because it costs money, and I have $0, folks. YouTube is a life that you can choose. I also have a full-time job I'll talk about in a minute, but YouTube's a life you can choose. The people that get into YouTube for money are idiots, man, because it does not treat you the way you expect it to. Sure, I'm making some money here and there, but it's less than I would at a part-time job. Even if you make videos every day. I mean, if you're Mr. Beast or somebody, that's a cancelable name right now, but if you're making that much money, you're in a whole different tax bracket. I mean, I'm so far below what people make on YouTube, but it's a thing where, I don't have the money to travel consistently. I mean, I want to go to Ireland so freaking bad, and if there's anybody from Aer Lingus listening, please reach out to me. I love you. I've emailed you twice and haven't heard back. I want to really go cover the team and hang out in Ireland. It'd be sweet. It'd be a sweet deal, I guess. If you want to give me, a guy past his prime, out of college, an NIL deal, let's talk about it, Aer Lingus. But it's something that I think is something, it's on my bucket list to travel more. That's such a generic to say, but I think money comes with that for sure. But yeah, everybody's sick right now. That's kind of that point of the pod. And then another thing that I want to talk about, there is some wild stuff going down at Fox Sports right now, folks. For those of you that haven't heard, Joy Taylor, Emmanuel Acho, Skip Bayless, all of their names are in the news because there's a massive lawsuit going down. And I want to say it right now in case I butcher any of this stuff. It's alleged to an extent. I don't know any of these people. I don't know any of the situation very close. I'm hands off and all this. I don't know anything. But there's some wild stuff from the outside looking in at Fox Sports. Joey Taylor has single-handedly set back the women in sports argument what feels like 2 decades. She's a very beautiful woman, awesome lady. I think she knows a lot of ball. Basically, all of the write-up on her was basically that she was sleeping, allegedly, with an executive at Fox Sports to get onto a specific show. And they had like a relationship. She was engaged. He was, or not engaged. She was married. He was engaged, or vice versa. They're both in committed relationships. And essentially, it was a situation of what you'd expect. Money being sent from one to another. People sleeping with each other. Basically, what you'd think about an industry that isn't necessarily sports talk, it came to that. So Joey Taylor has been getting just roasted on social media with Skip Bayless, with Emmanuel Acho going head over heels for her. There's some specific screenshots I'd read you, but I don't really want to dive in specifically. All I know is that it's not a great time to be employed by Fox Sports, but one thing I do want to specify about the specify? Yeah, that's kind of a word, maybe. Whatever. We'll move past it. One thing I do want to talk about with the Fox Sports stuff, I should mention what happened with Skip Bayless. Allegedly, Skip offered $1.5 million to sleep with somebody at Fox Sports. Doesn't sound like it was Joey Taylor. It sounds like it was a hairdresser or something like that. Skip, happily married, I think, references his wife a lot. Man, there's some demons there. And that is the perk of YouTube, where like you don't see people face to face. You're doing your own thing. You are hosting your own show. There's nobody near you to get any situation of like bothering people. You don't have to worry about that. But the two dudes that deserve so much respect in this situation, this is for now. This could age poorly. If something else comes out, I'm not responsible for this. Colin Cowherd, who was unanimously hated by a lot of people, and Nick Wright. Same reason, however, just KC overhaul. Big KC guy. Those two were never mentioned. I mean, Colin Cowherd was mentioned for being professional and respectful. In a 43-page lawsuit, you're mentioned as a good guy. That's awesome. That is awesome to see. Keep your nose out of what's going on there, man. What a crazy situation. Joey Taylor just, I don't even know what comes out of this. No one's really acknowledged it, but I will, I take it back. I'm going to read you guys some screenshots because it's kind of crazy. Basically, there's a story that says, what are the main implications of this lawsuit? This first one was Mr. Dixon, who is the higher up at Fox Sports, gives Miss Taylor, that's Joey Taylor, undisputed as a reward for having sex with him. In approximately March of 2016, Miss Taylor, an aspiring sports personality, had recently moved, blah, 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 gave the opportunity of a lifetime. At the time, she did not have a regular position, but would fill in on a day-by-day basis when talent was sick or missed time. Basically, she told this other girl that she was recently wed, but her husband remained in Miami, that she was lonely in LA. She then became friends with this other girl. And it goes on to describe that Mr. Dixon, this higher-up dude, would always go buy him drinks, hang out, blah, blah, blah. It's just insane. It sounds like they started hooking up somewhere along the way. Maybe they already were, maybe they weren't. It's just crazy to see what happens behind closed doors. Skip Bayless getting dragged through the ringer. I think Skip didn't sound like he wanted Joey Taylor on Undisputed, and it also sounded like she kind of threw herself at Skip Bayless, and Skip said, nah, I'm okay, and then basically said it's okay that she's on the show as a favor to a friend. I don't know, man. It's all crazy. That's just a ton of controversy that I felt like mentioning. I don't know the full spark notes of it, but essentially, Joey Taylor, I don't know what the outcome is here of what happens. I feel like, the legal precedent of all of this is that multiple people probably lose their job. You do your own thing, whatever. I don't know, man. If this stuff comes out, maybe just go do your own thing. Just maybe hang it up. Like, retire from sports talk, go produce your own YouTube show. Go hang out, start a podcast. Go do your own thing. Talk about it however you want, but I don't know where you go from there. When you go from having sex with a higher up at Fox Sports, like, where do you transition to that? ESPN? I don't know. Go somewhere else to a different company? Who's going to hire you? I guess maybe, well, no, I don't know. I don't know what you do there, but it's a wild thing in sports media. If you haven't seen any of that, go check Twitter. Go check Instagram. Go check Facebook. Wherever you get your messages at. Look up Joey Taylor. Look up Skip Bayless. Emmanuel Acho, who went head over heels for Joey Taylor and deleted a bunch of stuff about Joy. Like, he had 5 or 6 videos that are dedicated to, like, one of the most empowering women in sports media. Incredible lady. She's beautiful. She's, talented. She's incredible. And then deleted all those posts because it was revealed that those two had a sexual relationship. That's crazy. But it's been kind of a field day on social media. So I wanted to talk a little bit about that because I don't jump into the conspiracy, drama, gossip talk all that much, but it was a crazy thing to see. And I have no idea what's happening next, but you got to give a shout out to Colin Cowherd for staying out of the business. Just being a good dude, doing his own thing, talking about sports. Don't jump into any of that weird behind the scenes stuff. Just talk about sports. Keep your nose to the ground. Keep your head to the ground. Just lock in. So shout out to Colin. I know people don't necessarily like him, but Colin Cowherd deserves his flowers for staying away from all that crap. But let's transition a little bit more into some of the fan-submitted questions. There's some other stuff going on. I could talk about XYZ thing here or there, but there's a lot of good questions about Kansas State and also just some fun stuff that I wanted to talk about in today's video, or today's podcast, excuse me. That's an adjustment I have to make. Technically, I guess it's a video. It's only on YouTube, but you're not seeing me. Obviously, you're seeing a graphic or a logo, whatever I ended up putting up there. Let's talk about this. The first question I want to discuss. This one's from my guy, Chad Clanderman, at Chad Clanderman on Twitter or X. Thoughts on the transfer portal and if it should change. Now, I'm in the minority here. And first of all, I won't sit here and tell you it's perfect. I'm not going to be that guy. What I will say is this. It has added a breath of fresh air to college sports that hadn't previously been there. The dangerous part is it caters to those at the top. And not the same way it used to where you could pay players under the table to play for Nick Saban in Alabama, but it changed the game to the point where everybody can be on a competitive playing field. If I'm Kansas State, say I have $8 million invested in one kid, and if I'm Oregon, even though I'm a bigger, powerful brand, I have $5 million in the kid could choose us based on money. I know that's kind of a stupid way to look at it, and it's ruining college football and college basketball as a whole, but I got to tell you, and maybe this is just me being selfish as a guy that covers the transfer portal, I think it's added a different element of college sports that you don't expect to see. There's something exciting, and I know that I think this is a good example, like watching Coleman Hawkins in the NCAA tournament last year. You're like, dang, I hate this guy, man. He's so XYZ thing. He's doing this and this. And then he comes to Kansas State, and you're like, we get that dude on our team for football. Think about Dylan Edwards. Hate the dude. Going somewhere else. Dang it, why didn't he choose us? Blah, blah, blah. And I'm like that irrational. I don't actually hate these dudes. I think they're fine. They're all making the best decisions for themselves. But Dylan Edwards comes back and gets to have this giant arc of a recovery, of a comeback story, to come back home and to be a star. Those are the things that I love in college sports. It's kind of the LeBron going back to Cleveland thing. It's kind of guys giving themselves second chances. And yes, it should change in a certain sense, and I'll outline my thoughts on that. But overall, I actually really, really like, I repeated myself twice there, I actually really like the transfer portal. I think it's exciting for college sports, and I think it adds an element of, hey, if our team stunk this year, say I'm Oklahoma State basketball or Utah basketball, say we go 0-20 in conference play. I don't think that'll happen for anybody, but say we go 0-20. Next year, I'm not sitting there saying our team sucks, we're going to suck again. If you go out and recruit the right dudes in the transfer portal and you add 2 or 3 NBA-type dudes that could have that ceiling, our team could be very, very good in 1 year. It's why you get guys like Darian DeVries and Coach Tang in his first year. You build through the transfer portal because you don't have any other option at that point as a first-year head coach. And that team goes out there and dominates. K-State loses 6 games in conference play. West Virginia's 2-0 with back-to-back blowout, well, not back-to-back blowouts, but a win over number 7 Kansas, now a blowout win over Oklahoma State. That's the stuff that can hit the ground running fast. If you're one of those guys that finds lightning in a bottle through the transfer portal, it can change everything. Now, that being said, I think there should be rules set up to when a player can enter the transfer portal. I don't think it's fair to say like, oh, I've been to 5 different schools in 4 years. Let's find a 6th. I get that there's not really a way to handicap that, but my thought is this. There should be not necessarily penalties for salary caps. Like, you don't necessarily need a situation where it's like, oh, you can't do this, but you need to make it more, less incentivized to jump in the transfer portal. There has to be some type of penalty in that. I think the last year's rules where it was you had to sit out an entire year, that's a little harsh for me. But my theory is this. If you're a freshman or a sophomore, you cannot enter the transfer portal until the end of your sophomore year. Going into your sophomore year, midseason sophomore year, you can't. Once you finish your first 2 years of college sports, you can then transfer freely. I don't care if you're a junior or senior, you can transfer willingly. Grad transfer, junior, senior, whatever the case is, go for it. But as a freshman and sophomore, you have to truly think about which high school prospect or which high school program is going to be the best for you. Whether that's basketball, whether that's football. Unless, and let me toss this out there, if your coach gets fired, hats off. Go wherever you want, but the same rules apply. If your coach gets fired a week before you get on campus as a freshman, and you say, I don't want to be here, you can transfer freely. But just once. It can't be transfer freely for the next 3 or 4 programs. You can say, all right, I'm at Duke, our head coach got fired, he retired, whatever the case is, I want to go to North Carolina. You can't say, I want to go to North Carolina, get to North Carolina, then want to go to BYU. You have to choose a program and the same rules apply like the same way you would commit to them out of high school. So freshmen and sophomores, you guys are there. Juniors and seniors, go crazy. That's my theory on that. Just to kind of give it a little bit of spice that's not so set in stone. Obviously, you'll pursue guys that are more, junior, senior-esque that have been around more established. But there's also going to be a time when talented freshmen and recruiting high school players matters because they're yours for the next couple of years. There's a solidified thing that keeps them consistent at their program. I think that'd be good for college sports. But I'm not I'm not an overseer. I'm not Josh Pate where I want to be the CEO of football or whatever the case is, commissioner of college football. I don't want to be that guy. I don't need those kind of decisions. I just want to be that for K-State if I can. Not a commissioner, but something I can do to help out with the roster. That's the dream goal eventually. But moving on to the next question. From my guy, Zach Zumwalt. Shout out to Zach. I'm going to make sure I get the name last right. And it's not Zumwalt, folks. For those of you wondering, it is Zumwalt. But if Farmageddon is hosted in Ireland, what country should host the Sunflower Showdown in basketball? Now, this is a great question, and I've thought about this a little bit. So Farmageddon's going to Ireland. Obviously, I want to go, once again, Aer Lingus, if you're listening, please send me some flight vouchers or something, man. I'd be there in a heartbeat. I'll do whatever, man. I'll drink 100 beers at the stadium if that's what you want me to do. Granted, that might be a free will thing. But if someone had to host a Sunflower Showdown in basketball, I put some thought into this. It has to be in Europe, in my mind. I mean, yeah, you could go to the Caribbean. You could do all the things that people already do. Go somewhere in Europe and then change the rules. You have to play FIBA-style basketball. I don't know all the rules. David Gasson would excel in this situation because he understands the rules as a Netherlands-type dude. But it's one where you can smack the ball off the rim. There is no goaltending. I mean, there is goaltending, but if the ball's rolling around the rim, you can smack it off. FIBA rules. There's certain different things where it's like you play tougher, you play more physical. Neither team would get a home ref or a home whistle. So in theory, what you do, go somewhere in, I don't know. Go somewhere in... I was going to say like Slovenia, but I don't need to do that. Go to somewhere in let's just say for David Gasson's sake, go to the Netherlands. Go to Norway. Go to Finland. Go to Sweden. Go, to Greenland for all I care. Is Greenland the one? Okay, so go to Iceland because Iceland's the green one. Greenland's the icy one. Go to Iceland. Iceland's my pick. Go to Iceland. Find FIBA-era referees that don't officiate where it's like, oh, a little bump here, that's a foul. You can rough each other up. Give me FIBA European-style basketball for a Sunflower Showdown match, and I know that'd be tough to swing with the NCAA, but that would be absolute cinema. You can clang and bang in the low block. You can, fist fight each other in the low block if you're Hunter Dickinson or if you're Ugo. If you're Coleman Hawkins, you can shove dudes when you're getting down the post, but you're not going to get these ticky-tack fouls that you get in Big 12 basketball. I mean, Big 12 basketball's taken such a step back in terms of the refereeing where it's like a slight inconvenience, that's a foul. I mean, you saw it in the TCU K-State game where every single nudge is a foul. Give me just a 180 reality check type game to go to FIBA. You'd probably have to make it at the end of the season because it affects your style of play. If you're not getting fouled over there, if it's not getting called a foul and you come back, you're probably going to get the next game. You're going to let the other team be in double bonus. But my theory is that would be my pick to tell the truth on that. Thank you, Zach, for the question. Next up at Thick Willie Burner. Shout out to Thick Willie one time. How does Joey T like his steaks? Now, hear me out on this one, folks. First of all, I'm not a boot leather guy. I will never be a boot leather guy. But I have two caveats to this. One being, if I'm drunk, sober Joe, so if I'm drunk, I'll eat whatever, man. I don't care if it's the worst steak you've ever seen or the best steak you've ever seen, I'll eat it. Realistically. Meat is meat at some point. But when I look to order a steak, I look at the quality of the restaurant. Deep down in my soul and my heart of hearts, I'm a medium rare guy. The issue is I handicap the restaurant a little bit and saying, are they going to make this right? Because I'm not a rare guy. That's the issue. I would rather eat something that is slightly overcooked. If I'm going for a medium rare and I get something that's medium, I'd rather eat that than I would rare. So if I go to a restaurant that's kind of like I would never do this, but say I order a steak at Chili's. First of all, triple dipper, bottomless chip soup and salad, that's my MO. But if I order the steak at Chili's or an Applebee's, I'd probably go medium. Because if I go medium rare, there's a chance it's going to be the worst steak you've ever seen and I have to drink the steak. So in theory, if I go to a nice place, I've been to the Capitol Grill with my fiance, it's been awesome. That's expensive as hell. I'm not that bougie. Once again, I have no money, but back in the day I went and I ordered a medium rare. I'm like, that's perfect. Give me that thing every time. It's going to be cooked to perfection. But if I go to a place where I'm like, hey, Texas Roadhouse, what am I going to get here? Love Texas Roadhouse. Am I going to get a steak that's cooked the way I want it, or is it going to be overcooked or undercooked? If I had to take the gamble, if it's a worse restaurant and I have to get a steak there for some reason, I'm going to go with a medium. And if it's a good restaurant, I'll get a medium rare. That's my theory. If I'm drunk, once again, throw it at me. I'll catch it in the air like a frisbee, like for a dog. It doesn't matter in that sense. But that's my kind of MO when it comes to steaks. And that kind of applies to a couple different things. But burgers, I'm a through medium guy. Some people are like, you have to have your burgers just like well done, cooked all the way through. I don't want to be chomping on that thing like it's dang gravel, dude. I want something that I can toss in the mouth, be okay. This is getting a little bit out of hand. But, lo and behold, give me medium for most things. If it's nice, I'll go medium rare. That's my pick. So hopefully nobody cancels me over that one. If you hate that one, I apologize. But the next question here from Eli Scales 4. Which incoming freshman makes the most impact for Kansas State football other than Lincoln Cure? Now, this is a great question, and I should have been prepared for it by pulling up the K-State recruiting class. Let me do that as we speak. I think there's some dudes that can all make impact, and I don't want to make it sound like Lincoln Cure is the only one that will. I do think there's a slight thing here where Lincoln Cure, because he's such a talented athlete, he's going to play basketball and football in high school. His thing is that he's not declaring early, not coming to K-State early. There's going to be some dudes that do. When you look at that, and let me get K-State pulled up here. Second-ranked class out of all Big 12 teams in the class of 2025. Shout out the boys over there, man. Taylor Bratt, I want to work with you, man. That's my dream job. But a lot of people will cling to Noah King as the guy. I think Noah King's slightly a little bit further away than we think. Not saying he's not going to be good, but I think you look at skill positions. The way I've always been told is that it's easier to get on the football field the further away you are from the ball. And it's a situation where it's like, if you're going to be a center, it's going to take you some time because you're going to need to be a veteran. If you're going to be a quarterback, you're right by the ball. It takes some time. If you're out wide, if you're a wide receiver or a DB, it's going to be a little bit easier to get in. But in years past, you've seen, obviously this past year, Zayshawn Rich get on the field. I think Sirius Stinyard could be one that has, or Stinyard, I don't know how to pronounce it off the top of my head. I think he could have a lot of impact. I think RJ Collins could have a lot of impact. Shout out to his dad, by the way, recruiting his tail off, man. But my pick is this. I've got two dudes I'll pick, one on each side of the ball. I think Larry Porter, say for some reason they don't get the receiver class right. Say they go to a situation where they have guys that just aren't cracking it. You saw Jace Brown step on as a true freshman and dominate. Give me a Larry Porter, a dude doing it at Raytown, has a ton of talent, a ton of upside, 6'1", $185, will probably be around about two bills when he gets to campus and works with the True Carroll workout system. I'll take Larry Porter on offense out of Raytown. Defensively, give me Martell Jackson out of Derby. The kid is an athlete. I think he's going to be one that could be a Zayshawn Rich, big body corner that's an athlete track guy. 6'2", 175. I think Martell Jackson doesn't get nearly enough hype in this. I also think JoJo Scott could be someone that gets a little bit of love. He's somewhere on here. Let me pull up JoJo. JoJo Scott could be someone as well from Florida because a lot of dudes in Florida are athletes. I mean, there's more beyond that than me just taking a shot at it, but those would be my picks, is some combination of Martell Jackson, Larry Porter, or JoJo Scott. Those would be my three. I think it'll be someone in the DB room that cracks the field first because K-State's thin at that position at certain times, and you cycle more dudes in left and right. I would expect one of those two to actually make an impact. Could there be a special teams guy that's a linebacker, or McGuire Richmond? Probably. A Dalton Knapp, one of these guys. That's definitely an open conversation to be had, but those would be my picks as of right now. The final question of this segment before I get out of here, I mean, we have some other things I can tie in here, but the final question I want to talk about. This is from my guy Purple Purgatory on Twitter. Once again, all these people are on Twitter. Go follow him. Go hit him up and be ready for your own question. If you're interested in asking some questions, want to hear me feature it here, let me know. Who is your favorite non-superstar player in your lifetime for basketball and football? Now, on that situation, my theory is this. When you think about non-superstars, there is such an easy way to quantify that as is that a guy that averaged 6 points, 7 points? Is that a guy that averaged XYZ thing? Is it a guy that goes out, the way I see it, you can be a fan favorite and not be a superstar. So I'm going to go towards my fan favorite personal bias. I have personal biases towards a lot of different dudes on the team. And when I say bias, I mean positive bias, not negative bias. More so like, I don't want to say, it's this guy because of this reason. The reason I have my dudes picked, and you can crucify me for these if you count them as superstars. I wouldn't say superstars. These guys are just guys that are solid fundamental players at Kansas State basketball and football. I'll start with basketball. I have personal ties to each of these dudes, and I remember them vividly. My favorite, guy that's a non-superstar on K-State basketball, give me Will Spradling, man. So many good memories with Will Spradling. In career, guy's best season averaged 9-2-2. I wouldn't call that a superstar. I think when you get to that 15-5-3, you can be a superstar, but realistically, and I'll also backpack that with a more recent example too, but Will Spradling's my guy. When I was a kid, he went to Shawnee Mission South High School. I was a kid, maybe 5 or 6 years younger than him, something like that. For whatever reason, my elementary school basketball team went to go see him. We were in the district. We were going to go to there for high school. Obviously, my family moved, so we didn't end up there. But we went to a game where Shawnee Mission South beat, I can't remember if it was East or North, whatever the case was. It was a big game, and Will Spradling had a game-winning assist where it was a tip-in by somebody else, last second of the buzzer to give South the win. After the game, we got to go to the locker room, talk to the dudes for whatever reason. I remember chopping up with Will Spradling, knowing he was going to K-State, talking to him a little bit. It was just such a cool dude. I think the other caveat would be I choose Dean Wade, but he's too much of a superstar to tell you the truth. But I think Will Spradling's my guy. I mean, that's a dude that I truly, truly love. And then I'll take one further example, just more recent. Cam Carter is a dude that I love Cam Carter, man. I know that there's some hot water there and the way he came back to K-State and vice versa, but Every single time I talked to Cam, he was humble, he was cool, very kind. His personal trainer hit me up a couple times just talking to a couple of these dudes. Like, good family, good background, good origin. I really hope that Cam gets to where he wants to go because he's a stud person. Just also a dynamic athlete that I don't think you see many of. 6'3", doing what he does. Of course, he's averaging 15, 16, 17 points for LSU this year. Does not surprise me at all, and I think it was an egregious mistake to let Cam walk. But my other thought for this, moving to football. Another personal bias story here. A.J. Parker was my guy. He had some highs. He was a star for K-State football for a couple of years as a DB, but A.J. Parker was a dude that I see as like the ultimate guy. We had a bowling class together. Junior year of college, and for those of you that don't know, I bowled at K-State's team. I was actually on K-State's team's president for 2 years. No big deal, big bowling nerd. And A.J. Parker was in the class. And A.J. saw me, and I hooked the ball, averaged about 200 at the time. A.J. came over and started talking to me. He's like, hey, I want to learn to do that. I was like, all right, sweet. Well, you got to do this and this and this. And A.J. picked it up so fast, started hooking the ball, and would always bowl next to me, talk to our buddy that was also in the class at the time. And at some point, we when you bowl in the team, you just have so many bowling balls that are left over from previous years, previous people, from yourself, whatever. Most dudes have a 6-7 ball arsenal, and for those of you that don't know, bowling, it's like golf, where you have a different club for every occasion. You know, hey, you want to go 190 yards, you need a 7-iron here. Hey, you want to go 230, you want a hybrid, you want this. Bowling is a similar thing with the oil pattern and the oil condition. We just have a ton of balls laying around that some people want, some people don't. And I was like, AJ, we probably got a ball for you back there we could drill up for you. He's like, you sure? I mean, that's, I can pay for it, blah, blah. I was like, no, man, we have so much just sitting around. And so we ended up drilling AJ up, got him a pair of shoes. And so AJ has a ball. It's a pink Hammer Widow, I think. Not a great ball, but it's a good memory in my mind to watch AJ be so eager to learn bowling. And then one step further, I was doing rec basketball one year at K-State, and there was a team of football players. Remember the Skylar Thompson was on there one time, almost got injured and gave everybody a heart attack because we're like, that's a starting quarterback. But AJ, I was trash talking AJ. I was like, hey, we play you guys next week in rec. I was like, I'm coming after you, dude. And he's like, I was a two-sport athlete. I was recruited for both football and basketball and chose football. And I was like, yeah, whatever, man, you just talk. And he proceeded to drop like 40 on my head that week. And it was like a situation where I was trying to D him up, do everything I could. And I'm like a decent athlete. Like, I'm not bad. I wasn't like a varsity dude, but I'm not like a scrub that's never seen the court. It was a situation where I'm some way in between. I look, I play the same way that a 5'10" white dude would. But AJ carved me up. It was like I am moving laterally as quick as I can. Still wasn't enough. No matter what you do, the dude could jump and yam it on your head. He can cash it from out three. Guy had like 40 and 10 on me. It was damn near a triple-double for AJ Parker. And I remember I didn't talk much trash to AJ after that. But so AJ Parker would be my non-superstar favorite player in football. Just a kind guy, very awesome. Wyatt Hubert's another one that I talked to a couple times at campus. I can't really remember how I met Wyatt. I think it was maybe I reached out on social media or something, but I got to interview Wyatt through Wildcat 91.9. It was just a really cool guy. So Wyatt Hubert, another one that comes to mind. Big white guy with long hair. You got to love that. It's something where it's like, that's cool. And obviously Avery Johnson now is Avery Johnson, but Wyatt was always someone that I was excited to watch. And then, he was on the borderline star, I would say. His pre-retirement kind of stunk. That kind of set the career off. But really liked what I saw there. Just a lot of good guys, I think, out there that deserve some love. And then recently, I'll say this, I think Damian Ilalio is the perfect dude to root for. And he's becoming a star. So this is kind of a caveat to that. But Damian Ilalio is one of the most dominant high school athletes of all time in the entire district. I think when you watch him play, you see so many great things on film that I think a lot of people will just kind of scroll over or miss. When the defensive line is cooking, Damian Ilalio is stuffing their center. He's the quintessential nose tackle that's worked his tail off. And I got to tell you, I wasn't the biggest fan last year. I thought Uso should have been playing over him, but Uso was kept getting banged up. Damian stepped in and held his own. And this year, I'm so excited that he's coming back. So those are my picks. Will Spradlin, Cam Carter, AJ Parker, Damian Ilalio. I could go back further. I think there's other guys I could talk to, but I think more or less those are kind of my picks in that sense. But guys, that's pretty much going to do it for today's pod. I think the goal is every Monday or so you'll get an episode. I don't know if it'll be 40 minutes. I don't know if it'll be an hour and 40 minutes. Today's is about 40, 45, but I appreciate all the support on the channel. I'll have more regularly scheduled videos for you as well to listen to watch. Thank you again, and I'll see you guys next Monday. I think I came up with the title. We'll see if it sticks around. I think I'm going to go Uncut or JT Uncut, something along those lines. Those will be the podcast name. So, guys, that's going to do it. Thanks again. Talk to you later. Go Cats.